Namaste and welcome to the Sunday edition of Gyan Ganga Words of Wisdom on the Virat Hindustan Sangam social media channels. As you know, we have every Sunday Dr. Swamy speaking to VHS viewers, and today we are back after our Diwali break. We last met on our Sunday show on the 8th of November, and today is the 22nd November for another episode of Gyan Ganga Words of Wisdom. Today Dr. Swamy would be talking to us on the COVID-19 actual impact on the Indian economy and the impact of the Bihar election results. These are the two topics today we are going to be devoting for our discussion with Dr. Swamy. I thank my co-host, Professor Arvind Chaturvedi and Mr. Ramesh Swamy for being on this program. And I also thank our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, by Tejas from Pune, Ishwar Iyer from Navi Mumbai, Vishal Mehta from Mumbai. Then we have Swaminathan from Chennai, and we have Rakesh Gadgi from Bangalore, who are the technical support team for this program. I also congratulate Rakesh Gadgi on his engagement and wish him a very prosperous and fruitful future in his married life, which will be held shortly. So, with these words, I wish to remind our viewers that our Saturday program, Legal Words of Wisdom, Nyay Gyan Ganga, has also started, and we had a program yesterday. The next program will be on the 28th of November, and our regular programs will be on Sunday. So, with these words, it is over to Dr. Subramanian Swamy for his advice.
Okay, thank you very much. Am I muted or the mute? You can hear me.
We can hear you.
All right. And as far as the Bihar election is concerned, it's really a fascinating study, and I would urge everybody to use the Google because that's easily accessible to get the numbers which have been put out by various agencies, which did both, when the voters came out of the booths, that preliminary analysis, and also the final tallying also they did. Now, what it shows is that the number of seats won by NDA is 125. That means 3 more than majority, because the total house strength is 243. Just 3. And the Mahagathbandhan led by Lalu Yadav, son, his Gathbandhan has got 110 seats. And then, of course, there's 6 seats. One, I think, is Paswan's son's party, and the other is the newcomer, Owaisi, who I think has got 6. So this is the total tally. Congress tally has gone down compared to the last election, but that's not so important. Just now, I want to see its significance for the BJP, this election. As far as vote share is concerned, according to the data given to me, because the Election Commission has still put out officially the final tally in terms of votes, is NDA got 37.3% of the vote, and MGB got 37.2% of the vote. I mean, vote-wise, they were running even. Now, so therefore, when you look at a little in depth, the single largest party was Lalu's son's party, and this got 76 seats, and the BJP got 74 seats. But of course, for BJP, it was a great improvement, because in the last elections 5 years ago, they got 53 seats. But that time, I think we fought alone, not with Nitish Kumar. So this situation shows that the overall result has been very tight. When you then break it down into three phases, some see something very peculiar. I think needs further investigation as to why that has happened. In the first phase of voting, the NDA got 36% of the vote and just 22 seats. And the Mahagathbandhan got 37% of the vote and got 47 seats. Then in the second phase, the NDA continued to get 36% of the vote, but its tally went up to 52 seats. The Mahagathbandhan got 38. It also got, it increased by 1%. It got 38%. But it somehow, this is election first past the post vagaries. It got 41 seats. It got 37% vote, and 38% it got 41 seats. But then when it came to the third phase of voting, the NDA's vote shot up to 71%. Why? Nobody has been able to give me an explanation. And nothing had happened actually nationally or in Bihar to explain this. And got out, now it shot up from 36, from 22, it had shot up to 52, but the number of seats was remained 52. So, whereas the Mahagathbandhan seat went down from 41 to 22. So that's where the gap came. Otherwise, till the second round was over, it was in TV projected that Mahagathbandhan is winning. So what happened in the third, that this kind of change has taken place, I think is worthy of some research. So, so if you look at overall, the NDA rose from 22% votes to 52, and in these three rounds, and the Mahagathbandhan declined from 47% vote to 22. Why did this sharp fall take place? Nothing that had happened that I know from watching television and reading newspapers to explain this, and this needs to be explained. Now, when you look at the issues, that's even more concerning. If you take development, unemployment, and inflation, along with that poverty, and you ask the voters, why did you vote? On what issue did you vote? So the 72% of the votes were cast for this issue. And when it came to unemployment, Mahagathbandhan got 27 percentage points more than NDA when it came to unemployment. But in development, it got 15% less than the 15% less than NDA. When it came to inflation, again, Mahagathbandhan was ahead and got 10%. This was a sample survey of the voters. So this makes it even more curious as to what happened in that third round that changed it, and it requires a deeper study. Now, another key point that we need to look at is the age group. People over the age of 60, they voted much more for Mahagathbandhan than people under 60. And when it came to say 18 to 29 age group, both Mahagathbandhan and NDA equal. half and half, 36%. Same thing with 30 to 39. Same thing with 40 to 49. And same thing to 50 to 59. So all age groups, the voting percentage of these two was about the same. And it was in the 60 group where the Mahagathbandhan overtook with 41% of the vote, and the NDA remained with 36%. If you look at these other breakdowns like caste and religion, you find that NDA got only 6% of the vote of Muslims. That is the same rate Jansangh used to get, the same rate before Ram Mandir, the BJP got. And so despite all that, we have done, even the women voters, which we saw in the Lok Sabha elections, women voters came out in big numbers to vote. But that seems to have changed. I think this propaganda against BJP being anti-Muslim has had some effect. It's all right. I mean, if the Hindu consolidation continues, then BJP has no problem. But here is the issue. There is only 15% of the votes, and that too mostly women. Women have voted more for BJP than they voted for other parties across the board. I mean, caste, everything, relative to to their menfolk. So if the Hindutva vote is not becoming an issue and is being swamped for the first time since 2014 by economic issues, then we have some serious thinking to do. We can't take this non-performance in economics, which will be my next subject, to continue like this, because then in 2024 we are going to have a lot of difficulty. Muslims 6%, and the Mahagathbandhan got 76% of the Muslim vote. Upper caste 55% and 45%, and OBC, other backward classes. Not the Yadavs predominantly went for Mahagathbandhan. The OBCs 60% voted for BJP. I mean the NDA, and women, of course, were in a much larger proportion than 50% of the population. Whereas the Mahagathbandhan got only 18% of the OBC. Dalits, again, we find 30% of the Dalits voted for the NDA, and again, it was the women who were the largest share of that vote, whereas the Mahagathbandhan got 28% of the vote. So, and there was a Dalit, the pro-Dalit party, which is of Ramvilas Paswan's party, and that got only one seat. So, what I would say today is that there needs to be a serious manthan, as they say, serious brainstorming as to what is the likelihood that if this kind of thing continues in the economy, then will the Hindutva factor take the back seat? Especially now, since one of the main 2-3 items we have already done. BJP has performed, for example, Ram Mandir. I'm not going to the question who's responsible for that. That hardly matters. But the BJP gets the credit, and the 370 being removed, and later on there may be an issue on China, because if we don't get the Chinese out of our territory, that will be also a factor which will come in the next general elections for Lok Sabha. So what we need to do, therefore, is to seriously examine the economy. It's no use calling all these experts and so on, because you have to have people with political savvy, with political experience, to know what should be given priority, what shouldn't be given priority. Otherwise, any businessman or anybody who teaches classes in universities can give all kinds of theories. The issue is picking those items which have to be put across to the people. And the statistical results must show it. I mean, you can't say we are in a golden era, and then when the GDP figures come, this this factor becomes a negative factor. It just washes out everything. All this because make in India, everything today is just evaporated. And I don't think that in the this Atmanirbharta will have traction, because when originally Swadeshi was promulgated, it was against the British. Don't buy British goods, buy Swadeshi, buy Indian. You see, be Indian, buy Indian. And buy, I means BUI, not necessarily BY. So this, so it was successful. But then once we became independent, it just evaporated. And then during the Jansang period, when I entered Jansang, I was requested to produce a book on Swadeshi plan, which I did. And for professionals, economic professionals, I produced it in a different name, Indian Economic Planning and Alternative Approach, by a company which was called Vikas, but now it's been renamed, I think, as or is split and been renamed as Haranand Publications. That was 1970. I wrote the book. Mrs. Gandhi took notice of it in Parliament, blasted me and I lost my professorship at the IIT because the entire communists were up in arms, because this was a more scientific analysis. I used input-output analysis, matrices, calculus to show that we'll be far superior if we go for market economy. And this couldn't be challenged. Even if they ganged up, they couldn't, and it was a great appeal to people. I argued for a 10% growth rate with Swadeshi. But that time it was against the Soviet economic model that we had adopted. So it had traction. Today, what is it against? You said, well, we said, or the Prime Minister said, means we said, that we have Vikas. And suddenly you say Atmanirbharta. Then you say make in India. So what's the difference? So all these confusions have to be removed. And we have to have a clear picture. And now, because of the corona, I'm going to the next subject. The corona, we have to take this matter very seriously. First of all, our decline in the economy just now is not due to the corona virus pandemic. It was already declining. Only that the media, was so fascinated, I think, by our government that none of them published it. I think the only paper that published it was, to begin with, was Hindu, and then later on Sunday Guardian. So from 2015, the rate of growth of Indian GDP has been declining. And, many of the things that were put out, nobody went into the depth. For instance, the Commerce Ministry put out that we have now gone from deficit to the balance of trade in international trade. That is, exports have now become more than imports. But when you look deeper, you found that imports have come down. So did the exports, but exports came down more slowly than imports. So the difference naturally will become positive. So then this doubling of our GDP to $5 trillion. A simple arithmetic will show that means a growth rate for 5 years. For every year, your GDP will grow at 14.4% per year. Now we haven't even reached 10%. Where is the question of 14.4%? Well, nobody was there to question it. I have spoken here and there, but it's not part of the general idiom of our intellectuals who come on all these business channels and so on. So what happened is, yes, it's true, Narasimha Rao put us on a very high growth rate path from almost, at that time when he inherited the economy, it was only we were growing at 2% per year. And it was almost zero in VP Singh's time. Then we did a lot of things, but we were there only for 7 months. And that is Chandrasekhar, myself, etc. And we raised it to plus, and then to a bigger plus. And then you see after that the growth rate in Narasimha Rao's period, in which I was also minister, holding a minister rank position, it went up and up every year to 8%. But the public defeated him because the economic reforms that he brought had affected the vested interests hold, abolishing licenses. All these people who used to make money getting licenses through influence, particularly congressmen, by their ministers, and then selling it in the black market, they lost their revenue. And those who didn't like competition had a problem. There was a time that Birla had only one car, and the whole of India we had one car, which was called the Hindustan, and its model was the 1944 model. Morris Minor, England used to produce a car called Morris Minor. Now we got a number of companies came in, and Honda, there's that. Now today you see all kinds of varieties. If you just go back to pre-1990, you will never see a foreign car except one produced in India, I think Fiat. But all that changed. And after that, we have never bettered Narasimha Rao's performance. We have maintained it, and or it came down. But after 2014, and all my articles from that period show, this is not what the Americans call as a Monday morning quarterback. That is, the football game on Monday, why we lost. It's usually played on Sunday. And so on Monday, you wake up and then analyze why we lost. So that's derisively called in American language as Monday morning quarterback. So that what is called rear vision, your 2020 vision is when you look back, that kind of thing. And people give all kinds of explanations. The fact is that from 2015-16, our GDP growth rate began to come down from 7.5% slowly, year by year. And then after that, quarter by quarter, some quarters in the earlier phase, some quarters went up, and then the later quarters went down more. And the last year before the coronavirus came, coronavirus for us literally came on the end of March, which means the end of the financial year, April 1, 2019 to March 31st, 2020. That period, that year, the last quarter is January, February, March, April. These 4 months is a quarter. And that is, February, January end of February, March, April, these three. Quarter is 1/4, yes. And so January, February, March, April. Not April, January, February, March. So that quarter, we went down to 3.1% GDP growth on an annual basis, projected on an annual basis. And that means that this is even worse than what Jawaharlal Nehru had, through Soviet model, had achieved, and Indira Gandhi, who continued that model, had achieved. It is the lowest in our 74 or 73 years history. And this is, I'm talking in terms of what was a trend. I'm not talking about one particular year because there was some drought or so. So it was already 3% when the lockdown was declared. The lockdown, unfortunately, was without warning. That was a mistake because there was total disruption. Everywhere is just disruption. Companies use that to, just send workers to home, said, no payment. We can't pay you. We don't have anything to, nobody's buying what we are producing. At that time, we had a excess of supply in many sectors. So take automobiles. They're all, even before the corona came, there, these car companies which had all these commercial outlets, they used to be in the parking lot, cars and cars and cars packed. People were not buying because their purchasing power had been coming down. So from 8%, we came down slowly, and for the whole year 2019 to 2020, that is March 31st, 2020, the growth rate was 5%, and the last quarter, it was just 3.1%. So now the lockdown comes, and the first quarter, that is 1st April, May, June, this quarter, end of June, is by the own admission now of a publication which has not been publicized, that this streamlining, they have not publicized it, they have not made it public, but that publication I have introduced. I sent a copy to the Prime Minister saying, I wonder whether you know about it. And all these letters I've been writing to you for the last 5 years has now been vindicated by your own ministry. And in that they have said, yes, the growth rates have been declining. The last quarter was 3.1% only. And that the first quarter of 2021, because of Corona, it is minus 23.9%. Now, the second quarter figures have not yet come officially. So, but I know what it is. It's not going to be less than minus 10%. Minus 10% means compared to the first quarter. And therefore, and I'm sure that the third quarter and the fourth quarter, that is still March 31st, 2021, you will find that the GDP growth rate has been negative. And we have been put back very substantially. So how fast will we have to grow, and how long will it take to recover the position of April 1, 2019? That is the most disturbing question. According to my calculations, what we are going to find is that this coming year, on the overall, will be minus 15%. That is, GDP in 2021 compared to 1920 would be minus 14%. And that's for the whole year. I'm not talking the quarters. And then the next year, if we continue the same policy that we have been continuing, not applying ourselves to the main issue that the country is suffering from a demand shortage and a relative supply excess. So therefore, you have to see that people get money, and that money then they go and spend. And whatever one may say about Trump, he ensured, and I think Ramesh is sitting here, he gets a check from the United States government every first of the month in his bank account. He doesn't have to go and stand in line and get it. And so, therefore, the economy has to be kept going. And ours especially, because it's already been declining due to demand shortage. How did the demand shortage come? Demonetization. Demonetization maybe it's a good thing off and on, but it has to be done with planning, not just announcement, sudden announcement. It has to be done by planning. You can keep it secret, but you have to plan. What will happen if you demonetize? People will want their old notes to be exchanged for new notes. You must have enough new notes. They didn't have new notes. Then there must be a scheme by which there's no long queues. You see. And what that scheme, Sri Ravi Shankar told me that the Prime Minister wants me to give him a proposal. And I said, why can't you ask me straight? He said, no, never mind, you give me. So I gave it to him. I don't know what happened to it. I know what happened to it. I propose, now that you have demonetized, and this is after 2 weeks of the demonetization announcement, I said, you tell everybody, go to your bank account and deposit the invalidated rupees that you have. That is because of demonetization, it is now no more exchange. Deposit in your bank account. The bank account will do the counting and then tell you how much you deposited. Out of that, 15% the government will take as their tax. And another 15% you can take. And remaining 70%, you can have it in a fixed deposit for 5 years at just 2% interest. Then there will be no crowds. There will be no lines. You don't have to, you don't have to go to stand in a queue, give the money, he counts it, then he gives you cash. It's all done in the bank. And then later on you withdraw as you like. But you can withdraw only up to 15%. This was then sent to Mr. Jaitley by Prime Minister, I think, because what he proposed afterwards was that after you deposit your invalidated cash, the government will take 50% of it. And therefore, I said, who will agree to put in their bank? Because bank officials were coming to your house and saying, please give me your undeclared cash, your black money cash, and we will only charge 15%, which is what I suggested the government should charge. And so all the people who became rich are bank officials, ministry officials, and so on, who facilitated your conversion. And we still don't know what all you converted. I think even Pakistani fake news notes, they have also been new notes have been given for that. Then, of course, you didn't have enough new notes. There were Galata. Then you produced a 2,000 rupee note, but it was a bigger size than the 1,000 rupee note, which you had demonetized. So it couldn't fit into the automatic system, which was there in various places. All kinds of this is a lack of planning. It was not a bad proposal. GST, another thing I totally opposed. And one of the things was that a lot of fraud was done on it. It was a proposal of the Congress government, GST. And at that time, as Chief Minister, Narendra Modi wrote a letter to the center, I will not allow it to be implemented in Gujarat because it will create chaos in our economy. This is the letter he wrote. But then as Prime Minister, Jaitley persuaded him. And they not only brought in this GST, which is what is GST? That you will not collect at every stage indirect taxes. Goods come out of a factory, at the factory gate you put a sales tax. Then it goes the octroi, there's a tax. Then it comes out of, say, Bombay and goes to Maharashtra, into Madhya Pradesh. there when it's sold, there's another sales tax there. So all that will be not the only one tax. And that tax will have to be paid by the company which produces, and for which it has got to do all this paperwork and put it in online, blah blah. I don't know how rural areas would do it, but anyway, this was the idea. And all the indirect taxes previously used to be collected by different governments. Now, Government of India was going to collect. So constitutional amendment was necessary. Constitutional amendment was unanimously passed except for my opposition. One man opposition. And one of the things I said is, you will collect all these indirect taxes, which is about 7 lakh crore rupees. How are you going to distribute it? So they said, we will deposit it in an institution called GSTN, Goods and Service Tax Network. And in that, the majority shares will be owned by private banks, HDFC, ICICI. You know what fate ICICI is now. And both these companies are majority, not majority, over 75% of its shares are owned by foreigners. It's a foreign company. It's been formally declared by the ministry, Home Ministry, as foreign company, foreign banks. And they were there. So GST, majority shareholders were these, and they, into their bank account, these 7 lakh crores would be put in. And then after that, through a huge computer program, it will be marshaled out. The GST money will be marshaled out to different states. And who's going to do that software work, that programming? Infosys. Infosys got a huge amount of money. I think in the end, they probably got 4,000 crores. And the day when we had this drama in the Central Parliament to declare GST from today, July 1, 2016, this Infosys says we are not able to produce such a big program. So now I had said, please nationalize GSTN. It took me 1 year, and finally the Prime Minister saw the reason of it. Of course, by then all the media, everybody was talking about how it is all failed. And these two banks, they enjoyed it because you put deposits, 7 lakh crores. It is not to be distributed immediately. Therefore, they gave short-term loans to everybody, 10 days, 15 days, 1 month, for 3 months, and earn interest on it. So that was another fraud. And finally, anyway, it's now no more a private company. It's now become a government company, a bit late in the day. But these are the ways which we have, by a number of measures, we have caused the economic growth to decline. And all this has to be changed, modified, improved. Then only we can grow. But we have to grow. I'm telling you, if the way I see it and the trends I'm seeing, this is going to be a trend which is going to continue till 2024 when the next elections take place. If Bihar could abandon Hindutva in such a big way, then I think by 2024, all the mystique of Atmanirbhar and Vikas and everything, you see, will be thoroughly exposed. So I think the party needs to sit down and pull its brains together and come to a new economic policy by which we can grow. We will have to grow at a minimum of 10% per year for the next 4 years after 2024 to reach the stage of what we would have been in 2024 had coronavirus not attacked us. So this is a very gloomy picture I'm painting, but I'm painting it to shock people into action. And you can't just sit around and say, no, this is all Swamy's propaganda. I have not been wrong so far in every issue. Take any issue, economic issue. I've been right. And people have misled the Prime Minister. He was asked to say that we will double our GDP to $5 trillion. He said it immediately after getting elected again in 2019. And that meant in 5 years, every year your GDP had to grow at 14.4% per year. We are not even growing at 10%, not even 8%. And then the last quarter, we had grown at 3%. How was this possible? So there are people to lead the Prime Minister of the garden path. And so we have to have political stalwarts sitting of the party and making so that nobody has to do any jihazur in that meeting, and come to hammer it out and bring in a new economic policy. This is what I would like to say.
Dr. Swamy, I have a quick follow-up on what you just said. From a U.S. perspective, I will tell you what the latest report from the Congress says that they're still going to see a negative 4.5% to 6% decline. I mean, growth in the sense they're calling it the negative growth. They still predict that it's still going to happen. So from the current level, which seems to be significant, this is overall, not only that, but certain industries are growing. The rebound in the US in the last October month was very high because the labor growth has happened. But the way we calculate labor in terms of unemployment is again flawed because we just take up payroll data and process that as thing. But because those could all be temporary also, so nothing in a permanent basis. So all what we call is medium to high paying jobs are threatened a lot here in the US right now. And the main sectors are still not growing. Non-farm sectors are still struggling because the major employment was retail, hospitality. That is still struggling in the US. The challenge is now, even after the stimulus, there is so much still money left in the stimulus package. Now the Fed
you get a check every month?
Not yet. But that is over, Dr. Swamy. But still, unemployment checks do come for people who are not employed. Okay. But what we got, small businesses, very substantial boost in terms of payroll because they were giving us 2.5 months worth of payroll, which is not a small amount, which is because it substantiates even from a small, medium-sized industry, because that was money directly given, no questions asked. Now they're saying, okay, you should have asked more questions, but that was not the point. The money was given. It's a forgivable loan. Basically, they give you, depending on 2.5 months of your payroll. They just want to know that you're existing and you're not fired anybody. Once they say that is all self-declarations. If I say yes, so in 2 days you get the money for 2.5 months of payroll in your bank account. So and then you run it and then you prove it later. That's what they're saying. But if you don't prove it, it converts it into a loan and you got to pay interest on it and pay it off. But at the end of it, but if you prove that yes, I used it only for payroll, rent, and certain things, allowable expenses, completely pardoned, waived. So you don't have to pay it back at all. And they gave you a second package, which was saying that they give you another loan. There was some limit on how much they would give you, but $150,000 every company and stuff like that. And they said that not much collateral needed. Just again, the same declarations. It's a 10-year loan, but for the first year, interest is waived. So it becomes very easy. And there is talk that could also be waived because if you prove it that you've been using it for business and not, again, firing people or growing the business, again, they could be waived. But it's not there yet. But the objective is small businesses benefited directly. Like within a matter of week, the money was in their account, which I did not see. Now, India so far has announced $35 billion worth of packages. How much has it really benefited, small businesses, SMEs?
Absolutely.
So that is not very clear. The statistic doesn't see, even if we trust the government, yes, they've done something. What is fascinating is so far as to why are they not really putting out facts and just numbers saying that, so many people from this sector got. Because in the US, they are putting every company that borrowed on the list. The court has now mandated saying that even if a company borrowed $20,000, put their name on the list.
Yeah.
And anybody can go out to the website, in the US government website, and say, okay, I want to know who and all got this loan from something. So what is wrong in the transparency? I don't see, because it's anyway public money. You're not giving out anything else. So
no, part of our media also, sorry to interrupt you, they give all kinds of wrong figures. Now, I just saw today's Indian Express. It says in 8 months, Forex, foreign exchange, reserves rise by more than $100 billion.
How is it even possible, Dr. Swamy?
No, it is possible. All that has happened is that imports have slumped.
Exactly. That's my second point. Anyway, go.
So export minus import, 100 billion extra. Same thing. Oh, stock market is booming. Why? Because participatory notes, which is nothing but black money abroad, which you never got back. And despite my trying, going to the Supreme Court, getting orders, government, the finance minister has been sitting on it, doing nothing. We have got some 120 or how many lakh crores, I don't know, abroad. They have coming through this participatory note, which I said should be banned. It's a conversion method. You bring the you buy participatory notes abroad, bring it in, and then put in the stock market. All foreign money is coming here through participatory notes, and they are earning. So stock market is naturally booming. And the day the corona is over, the stock market will collapse.
And most of the people are sitting at home, so they're just trading it from. That problem is there in the US also. There's absolutely no reason. There is one company, there is one electronic car company that's not even manufactured one bolt, Dr. Swamy, not even one bolt. So that company is valued at about $40 billion. Don't ask me why. So we have like COVID idiots, we have even stock market idiots. They just don't know what to do. I mean, coming to that export part, so what they're saying is the trade difference that's going to drop by at least 10% from between economies. See, from a US perspective, the 10% is different because our imports are increasing, but India is going to have a significant impact if it's not able to do a lot of exports. Okay, and I knew this before. India is on a watch list in America. Basically, there is a concept in America called TAA countries. Yes. So they will not accept goods manufactured in these countries for defense and other purposes, which is basically any army or large government purchases. Yeah. They are not allowed to buy from these countries.
Yeah.
And China and India are on that list. Bangladesh is not on the list. Pakistan is on the list. So why can't India talk to the US or come up with some kind of, because Dr. Swamy, if you go forward in any economy that is going down and coming up, the biggest spending happens in these government areas. For India to start exporting more, it needs to start doing a better relations, doing something more tangible ones with America and start doing things around these lines. But apparently it doesn't happen. And one surprising question I wanted to ask you, Dr. Swamy, was China, in all this crisis, somehow or the other, through its totalitarian regime, has controlled it, but their economy seems to be stable. It's not every other economy took the hit. Why is surprisingly China not? Is it because we don't have the real numbers, or is it really reviving?
No. The question is the corona there, they nipped it in the bud. They kept it as a secret for two months. But they nipped it in the bud. They have made sure it didn't get out of Wuhan. That's what Trump keeps saying. No. They exported it to us, but they didn't allow it to spread it in China. Second, we have been saying TikTok gone. But the Chinese exports are continuing. Chinese are importing our raw materials as before. That's a very bad exchange we have had over these last 20 years. That we have been exporting raw materials like Kudremukh steel, the iron ore, which is the best in the world, and at a dirt cheap price, perhaps tobacco, something like that, you see. And they have been sending machineries, most of it which they originally produced for American companies, and now they're putting Chinese mark on it and sending it here. It's all coming. So then you say Atmanirbhar, then how can you have a focus on foreign trade?
Yeah, Dr. Swamy, in yesterday's report, I'll pull it out and I'll send it to you. Among Southeast Asian countries, India is in the bottom 2 in bond rates.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. I saw that.
Indonesia and Thailand are in the top 5.
Bangladesh has overtaken us in growth rate now.
Yeah, but no, bond rating, typically India, I thought, was a bigger economy, more reach. India is in the bottom 2, which means, you can't even go to borrowings outside. Because
listen, even your stock market, maximum 5,000 shares are traded, of which only 50 are called the Nifty 50. They are the only ones which are, it's all a rigged show. Mr. Chidambaram's time, this whole stock market was completely rigged for rip-off. And it's still continuing. The same people are there in the SEBI who are supposed to be the policemen of stock markets. They do the demo, nothing. Who's going to, I mean, how did you go? How can we go on? How many things, how many fires are you going to put out? And these are all happening. You see, I'm giving you this example. The media, somebody should use his brains. How can you say this? And this will be part of the green shoots tomorrow, I think.
Yeah, that's it, Dr. Swamy. That's it from my end.
Yeah. Okay. Any other? What about our economist, Professor?
I would like to take you to Bihar once again. And before I ask a question, let me just give few observations. We all know that all opinion pollsters have failed in Bihar. They were predicting majority for Mahagathbandhan, but Mahagathbandhan is, of course, it was in competition with the NDA, but very far from the power. Now, there are very clear reason. One very clear reason is that JDU and BJP both, they have got the majority of the votes of women. Because of the development work done by BJP for household, especially the gas chula and the direct transfers and others, so the women voters who were not part of the opinion polls, and therefore it was not reflected, and therefore this is silent voters were, majority of the women voted for JDU and BJP combination. One. Two, the defeat of RJD was basically because of an area which is bordering the Bihar part, where Muslim majority is there. It is called Simanchal. And in Simanchal, 24 seats. Out of these 24 seats, RJD has won only one. Therefore, the strike rate of RJD in the Simanchal is just about 5%. Whereas in the entire Bihar, the strike rate of RJD is 55%. So Simanchal area was one where AIMIM has won 5 seats. And BJP and JDU got their shares. So reduced margin. But RJD was one which was defeated badly in Simanchal. And if the Simanchal behaved same way as the rest of the Bihar, then RJD would have crossed the majority mark.
No. You see, I stop you here. That means, I mean, I'm glad you're doing this research because it needs to be done. The Vikas or the employment and inflation and all, which worked in other sectors, the phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1 and phase 2, the majority is with Mahagathbandhan. The majority changes only on the third phase. So they are not a different country. They are part of Bihar. If economic issues could have affected them, what was there in the case of Simanchal? Anyway, this needs to be looked at deeply.
The Muslim vote.
No. Muslim is 35% only.
Yeah. So Simanchal. Muslim vote in the rest of the Bihar, majority went to RJD naturally, but in Simanchal it went to AIMIM, and therefore the split of Muslim votes that led to
maybe it's a split, but the margins were such.
We got disconnected.
Ashish, can you get him back? We lost Dr. Swamy's feed. We should be back. Just bear with us till the time. Arvindji, you can actually give some updates from your end.
Another point that I wanted to make was that CPI-ML, Communist Party of India, Marxist, Leninist, which is an extreme left, they have done extremely well in Bihar for the first time.
Dr. Swamy is back. Yeah, Dr. Swamy is back. Sorry, Dr. Yeah, we lost you.
Listen, I am very keen that 2014.
Something's wrong.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, he's going back again.
But
Ashish, don't. I've
maybe
added.
somebody doesn't. Maybe somebody doesn't want us to tell the people the truth.
Yeah, you said about 24.
Yeah, 2024, we have to start planning now. And you can't,
Yeah.
no more spin. Spin is not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
Because, these landless laborers, you can't tell them that, विदेश में ये हो रहा है, उसमें यहाँ हो रहा है. And and you have a major problem. It's a time bomb which is ticking away. That is called China. I mean, they have sitting in a large part of our, at least about between 1,200 to 2,000 square kilometers in Depsang area. Nobody's wanting to talk about it. One of these days it will come out. So I don't want, as a party man, I don't want me not to point out that these are the dangers. Please take care. Your tire is punctured, and if you go try to go force the speed, it will go off the road. So that kind of warning is necessary for us to understand. And I would like these research to be done. What happened that, yes, BJP strength has increased, but this increase is entirely due to the third phase. Otherwise, the BJP would have been much lower than 74 or whatever it was, 73, 74.
Yeah. So my theory is that all India Muslim Mujahideen, they have actually helped BJP.
Of course, they will help. There are lots of reasons why they'll help BJP. I know them. I can't say that on a TV program because I'm no authority. I can't speak for them, and I'm this is not the forum for me to speak on it. But I think the fact is that the single largest party, despite all this, is Lalu Yadav's son's party, or Lalu Yadav's party run by his son. That's there. And two, Nitish has taken a beating. We have improved. That's very good. But I tell you, on the women, it's not only houses. I have been told by our people there that this was also a factor that we built the Ram temple. So if there's any contribution of the Ram temple building to our election, is on the women. And they are like that. I've seen all over India, women are still, whenever there's any gathering I see women particularly moved by that. So, but that also is not very large. See, had the housing thing not been there, Nitish had also improved the law and order. There is acceptance of that he had improved the law and order compared to. But people say, अभी खाने पीने के लिए चीज नहीं मिल रही है. अब law and order के बाद में देखेंगे. See, that is the key thing. This corona has highlighted that you are incompetent to keep, put money into people's hands. The problem today in the Indian economy is only one: demand shortage. And the answer is only one: print notes and hand it over to the people. Tell them to go and spend it. Or you build roads and tell them, okay, whoever works on the roads, all these migrant laborers, build big roads. And Nitin Gadkari is a genius. You see how lovely roads he has built all over India. So you tell him, a 6-lane or 8-lane highway from Madras to Delhi and from Calcutta to Kolkata to Mumbai. Build that. This is the time. After the Great Depression, Americans also only built roads and put money into people's hands and started the cycle. So I don't understand why all this, and all these stimulus are not stimulus. They're okay. I'm reducing the interest on your loans. Stop banks from asking for loans to return back, pay back or threaten. I know one airline which has been declared NPA by the public sector bank. I mean, how is he going to pay when there are no passengers? You see. So therefore, sum total is we need a complete revamp of the Indian economic policy, the policy of our government, and it has to be where you do, yes, Atmanirbharta only to the extent that you start industries everywhere, give people money. and tell them start, and make people, build assets like highways and turnpikes and so on. Houses. I mean, housing industry. I mean, there's an expert sitting there on real estate regulatory, Mr. Jagdish Shetty. You tell me what state is the household industry in house building industry in Bombay. Bombay is an example.
No, it's
Jagdish?
very bad and very depressing. As
There
far
you
as
are.
housing industry is concerned.
Yeah. All you have to do is give the Mazdoor money, and that the government says, okay, I'll give you a long-term loan, like they're telling Ramesh in America. And later on, if you can't pay, we will convert it into a loan and make you pay interest. Work out something. I mean, these are the biggest employer is the hospitality industry, hotels, tourism, all of them. I mean, all you have to do is to see that they get their salary, they'll all be working. Give them money, they're going to buy. Buy means demand. What percentage of all your three stimulus is for demand? 1.5%, 2% only. Rest is all financial jugglery.
Dr. Swamy, one additional point that
Yes.
the impact, like what you just said, the migrant labor impact is going to be very, very big, Dr. Swamy. They don't realize what's going to happen to them, even though a lot of them are coming back.
Yes.
That labor loss is going to have a significant, especially in construction industry, hospitality, all services industry where they were dependent on this. Now, if 50% will come back, how are they going to replace the remaining 50%? The second point, what is being coming out of late in new research in the US is the people who we lose or die because of COVID. Let's say if we lose, a company loses 10 of its very important employees. It's not something that they can replace with some Mazdoor. Since the people are not thinking this through, saying that, how do we manage these things? Because right now, the US is saying, okay, whatever we need to do to keep these things shored up, we're trying to do our best. I don't see the evidence of what to do with these migrant laborers, how to keep them motivated or keep them employed or something or the other. Give them money, because if the poverty levels have risen in India, in the last report, the pure reason is they don't have the money, because now they have no source of income because they're not working.
That's right.
So how are you going? People have done poverty alleviation or all that nonsense will go on, which you don't need. All you have to do is, since Modi ji has this bank account that people can say you have their own accounts. I forgot what Jan Dhan Yojana or something. I don't know the name of the scheme. Use that. Do a direct DBT to these people who are marginally think. There was some initial wave happening. I think initially they did some money, but they have to continue to keep them motivated.
They are doing it regularly.
But no, it's not enough. No, Arvind ji, my point is this.
That doesn't cover your monthly expense. That doesn't cover your month. You must ensure that how many people come and tell me sad stories here. I can't do anything about it. They are not able. They are not even able to. When the corona has hit them, they can't go to hospital because they can't pay. And they go to a private hospital, they'll be fleeced off. You see, so. I mean, I don't blame the private hospital because they have to provide all the infrastructure. So, therefore, I think this government must make 100% stimulus package, only handing out money, except to ministers and members of parliament.
There is no point saying that a waive of this interest loan on the interest on the interest. You will definitely. That's all absolute nonsense. And now they're telling the states, because they're not able to give them back the money that they collected with GST, saying that states, you go borrow money. Why would it's called convoluted schemes.
I know that.
Simply just by printing notes, as Dr. Swamy said, immediately they'll go deficit. Then this will happen. Who cares about deficit in this? You'd rather have the people die.
Not deficit. This is a ridiculous concept. You see, it's only when there is a excess of demand over supply that deficit is an important thing. But the supply is there waiting to be bought, and the people don't have money to buy.
Yeah,
Dr. Swamy, a question by viewers are that your favorite policy of abolishing of income tax, will it be very relevant in the present crisis?
Absolutely. Yeah. Even today, people are receiving income tax notices. So you simply say, oh, whatever income tax you are paying, now this is our contribution to your stimulus package. You see? Yeah, it will have a huge impact. Just say no income tax. Full stop.
Dr. Swamy, I think we should have a separate discussion on this, this so-called deficit myth and printing notes. People will, and say it because they don't really. It is not what has happened. If you look by the same yardstick, the US has printed close to about $4 trillion. Okay, where the stock market is an all-time high. Nothing is. I mean, so-called what is the deficit nonsense? Nobody gives a damn about deficit. Sorry about it. Sorry about the thing. Nobody gives anything about deficit nonsense. It's only
those who don't understand economics, they only are afraid of this. Otherwise, deficit financing
the deficit is
not only economics but macroeconomics. You see, where every sector has to be taken into account. I raise the interest rates. What will happen? People will stop taking loans because the interest rates have gone up. You may say that I am raising interest rates so that people take less loans, so that the money supply is contracted. But once he stops investing, he's going to put people, especially MSME, that is the medium and small industries group. They are the worst affected, and 60% of the employment in the industrial sector goes to them, and they are going to put them all off. You see, so I feel very bad. That we know what is to be done, but there's no reception for knowledge. People are knowledge proof nowadays.
Arvind?
I think before we wind up, I will still have one more question for Bihar, and that is the unprecedented rise of CPI-ML. The Communist Party, Marxist-Leninist, which is the extreme left of the left. And they've got 12 seats, and combined left has got 16 seats. And in terms of strike rate, the 63% strike rate, much higher than any other party except BJP.
That's right.
So that should not be an issue for concern, because if
absolutely.
the
Listen, I have been always saying that Hindutva will triumph economic performance, but I assume that there will be some economic performance. When there's zero economic performance, then who will stand up for Hindutva? So therefore, for us, particularly now, for 2024, we have to have changed the growth rate to the whole economic situation in such a way that by the time we reach 2024, we are back to 2020. Otherwise, we are going to be back to 2010 at the rate things are going.
Yeah.
And that is the issue. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. But the issue is we can continue to discuss these economic problems, and since the people who have to provide the solution are not really paying the attention to the suggestion that you made, even today's article that you have written in Sunday Guardian, that article should be an eye-opener for the people in power, and they should move in that direction. Suggestions made by you are not being followed, unfortunately, and so therefore. Thank you very much for bringing all these issues to the fore, and we'll continue to discuss such issues. Let me just inform the viewers that there are many questions viewers were asking, but all those questions could not be taken up today. Maybe in a subsequent discussion on economy. In fact, VHS is planning in the series of Words of Wisdom, Gyan Ganga, a series on economics called Earth Gyan Ganga, and that will soon, once the legal Gyan Ganga or Nyaya Gyan Ganga is over, we'll have a series of discussions on economic issues. Also, things which are not very clear to the common man about economy. Dr. Swamy will try to educate them and throw some light and make it very simpler for the common man to understand the nitty-gritties of the economy. So thank you, Dr. Swamy, for today's discussion. Thank you, my co-host Jagdish Shetty ji and Ramesh Swamy ji. the technical team behind us, of course, led by Ashish Shetty, which is a great work they're doing. Aminathan, Ishwar Iyer, Gadgi Rakesh, Tejas, and Vishal Mehta. Thank you all. We will be meeting again on Saturday in Nyay Gyan Ganga, new series of Nyay Gyan Ganga on Saturday. Then followed by Sunday, a new topic and Dr. Subramanian Swamy. Till then, Namaskar, Jai Hind.